Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. This is a spoiler video for Spirit of Rebellion. Fantasy Flight Games released 4 spoilers today, so we're going to go through the cards that they spoiled and discuss what I like about them, what I might not like about them, and how they might pair up with like other cards in the game, and so on. So, the first spoiler up was a new Darth Vader. Um, so this is Darth Vader, Dark Apprentice, 11 health. He has 1 range damage, 2 melee damage, 3 melee damage at the cost of a resource, 1 discard, 1 special, and a blank. He's 11 health. His point value is either 13 or 17, depending on if you want to run a single die or 2 dice. And his special is deal 3 damage to a character, then deal 1 damage to this character. So he does a massive amount of damage. So it looks like he has the one range is kind of weird, but he has two melee sides, um, one costing a resource, a range side, which is kind of strange, but if you roll it, you probably might want to re-roll to get to your better damage or your special. But I think his health is good, and his point value actually makes him playable with other elites. So you can elite um, Vader or elite Vader Dark Apprentice and an elite Kylo Ren would work. And I believe that'd be 27 to be 30 points. You can also go with blue yellow if you roll with elite Balatik, where it would be 17 and 11, so we got a 28-point build. And with the amount of damage Vader's going to be dealing out, Balatik might be a good choice because his ability would probably trigger multiple times depending on how many characters Vader defeats. So whenever a character gets defeated, if Balatik's not readied, he becomes readied. So that's pretty cool. He can pair up also with a regular General Grievous and just swing for a ton of melee damage because Grievous has 3 damage sides, so he has 2 melee, 3 melee at the cost of a resource. So if you pair that with this Vader and you throw a couple like weapons on Vader, like maybe like a Kylo Ren lightsaber, a regular lightsaber, or I wonder if they're gonna do maybe like a Darth Vader's lightsaber or Anakin's lightsaber because it could be Anakin slash Vader's is the same. The one he's using in this card is the one that Luke eventually gets and that Rey eventually gets as well. So you can throw like lightsabers on him and just have him swing for a ton of damage. I like his special where you deal 3 damage to a character and then deal 1 damage to this character. So it does come at a cost, but if you're able to keep Vader protected and shielded, this is a very powerful ability. So if you're running like shield generation or dice that have shields on it, give the shields to Vader to protect him when he uses a special. Also, something like Hidden in Shadow would go well on Vader. Hidden in Shadow says if the character doesn't have a shield, you basically exhaust the ability to give it a shield. So give him a shield from Hidden in Shadow, and then use a special to deal 3 damage, and then just take the 1 damage off from your shields. That's a really good combo. And also, if you run this with like Balatik, you can also get access to Cunning. So Balatik can roll Cunning. You can then use a special on Cunning to trigger a special on this Darth Vader. If you have ways to get the special to go off multiple times, so let's say you resolve a special on one of your Vader dice naturally, or through Cunning or something like that, you can also then use something like the Emperor's Throne Room and claim that location to trigger a special again. The thing with the special is though you will be doing 1 damage each time, so you want to keep Vader protected with shields or upgrades like Hidden in Shadow and things like that. I really like this Darth Vader. I also love that this is not a legendary. This is just at rare level. So hopefully, this will make it so more people get Vader. And I actually think for depending on what kind of deck you want to play, I think I actually like this Vader more than the regular Vader. The other Vaders are more of a control Vader. This is basically just straight up aggro Vader, which I really like. So the first card spoiled is this awesome Darth Vader. I can't wait to get my hands on this card and build decks around it. Probably going to go build a deck with either Kylo or Balatique, or maybe even just General Grievous, like I mentioned earlier, and just have massive amounts of damage on him. He's definitely going to attract a lot of damage. So when you play this Vader, I imagine a lot of people are basically going to try to target this card pretty much immediately and try to get him defeated. So you will have to keep him, hopefully protect him somehow. Maybe roll him in with some control cards like Feel Your Anger, so people have to remove dice, things like that. We're going to move into the next card in just a second. And we are back with the next spoiler from this new wave of spoilers released today. We're looking at Obi-Wan Kenobi Mysterious Hermit. I'm not too thrilled about the subtitle of Mysterious Hermit. I would prefer something like maybe like Jedi Exile or something like that. But that's kind of me just nitpicking. So Obi-Wan Kenobi Mysterious Hermit has 11 hit points. He has 1 melee side, 3 melee, 1 focus, 2 focus, a resource, and a blank. He's worth either 16 or 20 points, depending on how many dice you want to run with him. So I think he is a little overcosted at that. I would prefer it to be maybe like more like 14, 18 possibly, but that's the point value, 16 or 20. He has Guardian, so whenever you activate him, you can remove a die showing damage against him or resolve it against him to that die and do that damage to Obi-Wan. And then his ability is really cool too, because it says before this character is defeated, you may play a blue card from your hand or discard pile for free. So if you have something like, let's say you have a Mind Probe or a Force Throw in your discard pile, before Obi-Wan gets defeated, you can play that card. You can also potentially even play something like One of the Force as well. I don't know if that would go onto him, or it might go attached to him, and then he would be defeated, and then it would become a support for the rest of the game. That is basically the Obi-Wan die. So that One of the Forces is basically thematic towards him. I like it. I like his health. He's got 11, and also you can basically defeat Obi-Wan on your own with something like Noble Sacrifice to trigger this ability. So you play Noble Sacrifice, and then you'll be able to get your blue card for free, plus the effect of Noble Sacrifice. My only complaint really is the cost. And I don't know about Guardian on him. I like that you have Guardian, that they have Guardian. I don't know if when you activate a character with Guardian, if you're forced to resolve a die or not, or if you just or if you can. But it also, one thing I do like about having Guardian is it triggers his ability faster. But with him being either 16 or 20 points, you're only going to have 14 points left over to pair with somebody else. So I don't really see him pairing. I don't see Elite Obi-Wan really pairing with a whole lot of people. I can see him pairing with maybe a single Obi-Wan and an Elite Rey for 28 points. But there's not a whole lot of people that pair with him currently at the Elite level if you're running Obi-Wan at Elite. Unless there's going to be maybe some 10-point Elite characters showing up in future sets or in the rest of the Spirit of Rebellion set. But that's Obi-Wan. We're going to move into our next card. And we are now moving into the events that were spoiled today. It's just one event. It is Rise Again, Blue Villain event. Cost 5 resources. Looks like it's going to be an uncommon. And it heals 5 damage. You can heal 5 damage from a unique blue character. You may play an upgrade from your discard pile on it for free. So, for example, this is obviously with Vader, but you can heal 5 damage off of Vader. And then if you have a blue upgrade in your discard pile, you can play it on him without any cost. So, first of all, the negative on this is it is 5 resources. So, if you're at a point where you have 5 resources, your opponents are probably going to try to force you to either lose resources with something like Occupation if you're playing villain against villain, or maybe they'll play something like Abandon All Hope on you, where you have to either lose Rise Again or lose the 5 resources needed to pay for it. And then there's also just the Disrupt faces on dice that could make this hard to play. It's the same cost as something like an Endless Ranks. I think this is kind of like Blue's answer to Second Chance. However, you just heal 5 damage off your character. You don't have to wait for the thing to trigger like you do a second chance. But you get a heal 5 damage, and the nice thing is you get a blue upgrade for free. So if let's say you're playing this in a Dooku deck, and you discard a card to do Dooku's ability to get a shield when he takes damage, you can discard one of your upgrades later on, heal 5 damage from Dooku, and then the upgrade that you discarded to give him a shield, you can then bring back and play on him. So that's Rise Again. I think it's a little bit expensive, but it's going to be interesting. I probably wouldn't run more than like one of this in a deck. Like in my current Politic and 3 Stormtrooper deck, I'm only running like a single Endless Ranks because I don't think you're probably going to get multiple of those off in a single game. I don't think you're going to be able to play Rise Again more than once in a single game because you have to build up those 5 resources. So if you have 5 resources, you spend them, play Rise Again, the game's probably going to end before you accumulate 5 more resources, considering that you're also going to be playing other events, upgrades, and possibly paying resource costs to resolve certain dice. So that's Rise Again. We'll be back with the final card that was spoiled today. And the final card spoiled today is the Carbon Freezing Chamber on Bespin/Cloud City. It's going to be an uncommon, it looks like. And the claim is choose a character die. That die cannot be rolled during the next round. So you claim it, you pick a character, and that die won't be able to be used in the next round. I see this working well in control decks where you want to limit how many dice your opponent is going to be able to use. So if they're running, let's say, something like Elite Rey, Elite Han, you can say you're going to roll 1 less Han die. So if they have 2 Han, you basically make one of them only be able to roll 1. Something like Outpost might be able to trigger this multiple times. If you roll the special on Outpost, it lets you basically get the effect of the battlefield as though you had just claimed it. So the thing with that, though, is you can trigger it, and then your opponent can still use that die during the current round. I believe it's the next round that they won't be able to use it. So if you use it, claim it, or not claim it, but resolve it with Outpost, you remove one of their dice, essentially, from the next round. Or they can't even roll it, I should say. And then if you actually claim it naturally, you'll be able to remove 2 dice. So you can be like, I don't want you to roll any of your Han dice. I don't want you to roll any of your Rey dice, saying they're playing against Rey and Han. Or you can be like, I want you to only be able to roll 1 Han die and 1 Rey die if you get 2 claims out of it. If you're able to use something like with Cunning, you can use Cunning to also trigger Outpost, so you can get that effect. I also think this will work well against single character decks. So if you're running something like, let's say, single Darth Vader and 2 Stormtroopers, can claim this and then make them not be able to roll out their Vader die during the next round. And by Vader die, I mean the original Vader die. If they're running the new Vader and a single of that, you can do that as well. And also, it potentially can kind of neutralize or limit the effectiveness of something like 4 Stormtrooper decks, where you basically make it so 1 Stormtrooper can't be rolled, and then if you're using something like Squad Tactics, instead of being able to roll all 4 Stormtroopers, they can only roll 3. I don't think this prevents the die from being used for other reasons. For example, if you claim this and choose a Stormtrooper, I still think the Stormtrooper will still be able to do Drudge Work if they have that out, because Drudge Work doesn't involve the die being rolled. So they still might get some use out of the die if they have something like Drudge Work out. But I don't really know how I feel about this. It could be interesting. I think there will be a lot of decks that are probably built around it. I don't think it'll work well in like mill decks, but in control decks where you are telling your opponents which dice they can and can't use, and you're removing dice, along with something like Electroshock, where let's say they roll their single Han die out, then Electroshock it, so they can't resolve that one, and the other one can't be rolled. But that's going to do it for today's video. Those are the 4 new spoilers from Spirit of Rebellion. So we had Vader, Obi-Wan, Rise Again, and the Carbon Freezing Chamber. That's going to do it for today. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching.